Hi, so it's a cold late November morning and I'm out and about in Cambridge at the burial ground of All Souls Parish. So there's a number of the great and the good of Cambridge buried here, and I thought it would be an interesting place just to come and talk about the changing of the seasons and the end of the year. We're just going into December, and the temptation is really just to look at the finishing line at the end of December, and finishing for Christmas as being something to get all of the little things finished off and the little things tied up. And you know, it is a good time of year to do that because things are starting to slow down, people are starting to disappear, people are concentrating on, you know, getting to year end, getting to month end, or whatever it might be. But I think there's a risk that if all that you do is use this period to close things down, you're really missing a trick. You're really missing a big opportunity to get things set up well for 2020 and for coming back in the new year. So what I want to encourage you to do is to think over the next week about spending a little bit of time thinking about the big things that you want to achieve, both personally and for your team in the new year, in the first quarter. This does not need to be a very time-consuming or comprehensive process, but in particular things like getting out of the office and getting on customer visits, or going to a conference like Business of Software here in Cambridge in April, or just going to a number of different environments and doing some of the bigger, more important but less urgent things. Those things take time to identify and to plan and to book and to get in your calendar. And the risk is that if you leave it until January or even later to start doing those things, you will have run out of the available options and the time to be able to get away. So if you can think about what those things are now, and take the steps over the next week or so to get them booked in and in the calendar, they are far more likely to happen than if you just leave it until, well, I'll think about that in the new year. You'll find that you don't have the time that's available. Similarly for your team, well, the temptation might be just to kind of close off all of the work or as much of the work as possible. Again, there's a risk that you might be concentrating on stuff that isn't actually that important, that could ultimately just be killed. And if you can spend a little bit of time with your with your team thinking about what those real priorities are for the first quarter of 2020 and making sure that you've got the plans in place to kick those off in the new year, you might find that the space that you've got left isn't enough to do all of those little things. But that's right, because you will have been spending the time and investing the time on the most important things. So yeah, use this time when the leaves are hitting the ground and everything's a bit cold and wet and dark. Use this time between now and the end of the year to think about getting yourself set up well for the first quarter of next year. That's it for now. I'm Gareth, and I will see you on the next video.